People always talk about old money like it's some kind of shield that makes you untouchable. Like if your last name is etched into the side of a skyscraper. The laws of gravity just don't apply to you. But I'm here to tell you that pride doesn't just go before a fall, it constructs the entire cliffside. And man, the view from the bottom is a lot different than the one from the penthouse. My name is Alina Vance, and for 15 years, I poured every ounce of my soul into a company called Horizon Green, building it from a tiny garage operation into a leader in sustainable infrastructure. But to the Sterling family, I wasn't a pioneer or a CEO. I was just a disruptor who didn't know her place. It all came to a head on a humid Tuesday night at the Sterling Foundation Gala. It's a suffocatingly opulent event where the air smelled like lilies and expensive gin, and I was there to finalize a 2-year negotiation for a $400 million partnership that would have changed the world. I was wearing this deep emerald silk gown, feeling like I'd finally earned my seat at the table, when Julian Sterling Jr., the 16-year-old heir to the Sterling throne, decided he wanted to show his friends a trick. He didn't say a word at first, just stood there with this bored, heavy-lidded expression that only comes from never being told no in your entire life. And before I could even finish a sentence to an investor, he tilted his crystal goblet and let a stream of thick, syrupy Cabernet Sauvignon pour right over my head. I felt the cold shock of it hitting my scalp, the way it soaked through my hair and began to drip down my face, stinging my eyes and staining that emerald silk a muddy, bruised purple, and the room just went dead. But then the sound that actually broke me wasn't the silence. It was the laughter. Julian's mother, Beatrice, didn't gasp or apologize. She actually clapped her hands together like she was watching a toddler finish his peas, saying, "Oh, Julian, you always did say she looked a bit too green for this room, didn't you?" While his father, Arthur Sterling, just checked his gold watch and told a waiter to make sure the mess didn't ruin the antique Persian rug, I stood there, dripping, tasting the metallic temps of expensive wine and my own fury. And in that moment, they didn't see a woman who controlled their future. They saw a maid who'd forgotten to clean the silver, and honestly, that was the biggest mistake they ever made. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just took a linen napkin from a horrified server, wiped the wine from my eyes with a hand that was steady as a surgeon's. I walked straight to the podium where I was supposed to give a speech about synergy. The room was buzzing. Phones were out. People were recording the meltdown they expected me to have. But I just looked Arthur Sterling dead in the eye and said, "Values aren't something you put in a brochure, Arthur. They're something you live. And tonight, you've shown me exactly what the Sterling name is worth." I announced right then and there, to a room full of the city's elite, that Horizon Green was withdrawing from the merger effective immediately. And you could have heard a pin drop as the realization hit Arthur's face that $400 million wasn't just a deal to them, it was a lifeline for their crumbling, debt-ridden empire, and I'd just cut the rope. But listen, the story doesn't end with a dramatic exit, because the Sterlings didn't get to where they are by playing fair. And the next morning, the real war started. By 8 a.m., my face was all over the tabloids. But the headline wasn't about the wine. It was about me. They'd released a doctored video from the Gallus private security that made it look like I'd physically lunged at Julian first. It seemed like the kid was just defending himself from an aggressive, unstable woman. My investors started calling, panicked. My board of directors was meeting in secret to discuss my fitness for leadership, and for a few days, I was sitting in my darkened living room, staring at the wine stains on my floor, wondering if I'd just set my entire life on fire over a moment of pride. That's when I got the call from Martha. Martha had been the head housekeeper at the Sterling estate for 32 years. A woman who had raised Julian when Beatrice was too busy at the spa, and she'd seen the video on the news. She told me, her voice trembling over the phone, "Miss Vance, I've watched them bury people for decades. I've watched them bribe judges and ruin lives just because they could. I'm tired of being the one who mops up the blood." She didn't just have stories. She had a shoebox, a literal shoebox filled with flash drives and photocopies of disposal records from the Sterling's private accounts. We met at a rainy diner on the outskirts of town. And as I sifted through those papers, My blood ran colder than that wine ever was. It wasn't just arrogance. It was crime systematic embezzlement from their own charitable foundation. Their offshore accounts used to dodge taxes that could have funded 3 school districts. And most importantly, the original, unedited security footage from the gala. It turns out Arthur had told the security head to edit me into a monster. But Martha had swiped the backup drive before it could be wiped. When the board meeting finally happened, Arthur Sterling actually had the audacity to show up, sitting at the head of my conference table like he already owned the place, leaning back with this smug, paternalistic smile and telling me, "Alina, dear, if you just sign the apology and step down quietly, we might let you keep your stock options." I let him finish. I let him feel that victory for one more second. And then I turned on the monitors and played the real video, the one where Julian is laughing while he douses me, and the one where Arthur is heard telling his lawyer to make that woman look like a lunatic if we have to pay $1 million to do it. The silence this time was different. It was the silence of a tomb. I showed the board the offshore records, the embezzlement, the whole rotten structure of the Sterling legacy. And I watched Arthur go from a king to a ghost in under 5 minutes. He tried to bluster, tried to say it was all fake news. But when the FBI agents I'd called an hour earlier walked through those glass doors, he just slumped in his chair, suddenly looking like an old man who'd run out of time. Now Horizon. Green is doing better than ever in that old money skyscraper. It's being converted into affordable housing that I'm personally overseeing. But I still think about that night sometimes. I think about Julian, who's currently in a court-mandated rehab and character-building program. I wonder if he'll ever realize that a crystal goblet is a very fragile thing to build a life on. But honestly, I want to know what you think. It ever really possible to change a culture that's built on that kind of entitlement? Or are people like the Sterlings just a product of a system that rewards the loudest voice in the room? Did I do the right thing by burning the bridge? Or should I have taken the deal and changed them from the inside? Drop a comment below. I really want to hear your take on this. Because in this world, sometimes the only way to clean a wine stain is to replace the whole floor.